Welcome to the fastest stop in town. Today we're going to Masechtas Ketubot stuff. Ayin test. We're going to begin on the bottom of Ayin Chesem and base, 3 lines from the bottom. Hahi Isasa. So we begin with the following story as related by in the Gemara about a woman. The boy did tavrichinhu when nichasim gavra, that she literally wanted to hide or have her possessions away from her husband. So says Rashi, Almana Haisa, this was a widow, Uvasli Nase, she wanted to get married. The Haisa Makdemis Vino Santan Levita. So she first wanted to give it to her daughter, Kedeo Havriach Sechus Bala Mehem, so that this new man that she's going to marry is not going to have any schus in it. Shel Yizka Behen, V'hoidia Le'edim, and she made it known to the witnesses, Shin matana zu matana el havriach, that she didn't really want her daughter to inherit this property, these possessions. She just did it in this loophole manner so that in her new marriage the husband would have no schus in it. So in this situation, kasavtinhu librata, again she wrote it all her karka, all her property to her daughter. In Siva, so she got married, v'igarsha, and was divorced. As we continue Ayin Testament Aleph, so Rav Nachman. So they went in front of Rav Nachman to basically get her land back from the daughter. So Kari Rav Nachman l'shtara. So Rav Nachman ripped up this document that she had written. Also Rav Anala Kamed Rav Ukva Omerle Chazi Mar Nachman Chalka. Look at this person, Nachman Chalka. Rashi says Chalka is Eino Baki Bedinim. He's obviously not an expert. Umar Ukva Ab Beistin Havi. And Mar Ukva himself, he was an Ab Beistin. So he had the right to perhaps say that this was incorrect. That's why he asked, Heichi Mikor Shtarid Inchi. How could you just go around ripping up a document which verifies exactly what was happening? So Emily easy gufa de uvda hechi havi. Explain to me word for word, step by step, exactly what happened. So Emily hachi v'hachi hava. This is the whole situation. Emily shtar mavrachas ka'amrit. This is considered to be a shtar of running away or hiding. So if that's what you're talking about, hachi amrav chaniloi bar idi amr shmuel mayra harani. I paskin im yavo shtar mavrachas liyadi, that if I ever come across this type of a document, ekra eno, that I will rip it up. So in fact, what he said was correct. Says Rashi, she yirtza hamakabel hamatanul hachsik menachasev al piv. He wanted the one who was makabel the gift to be to hold on to the possessions based on his testimony, on his words, shul hachziram when noisein, not to give it back to the one who gave it. Ekra enu, and therefore that's why it's ripped up. Well, kamei parich, they're going to ask, hoyel lav shtarhu hey hoyel havriach. How did it really help to begin with anyway? So Amalei Rabbi Rav Nachman taimamai deloi shavik inish navshe v'yoiv lachrine, because a person is not going to go ahead and give all of their things away. Says Rashi, v'lo gomer l'hachnaiso el b'oshehu daig me'acherim shel yachsek behen. It's clear that the only reason why she gave this away is because she didn't want to lose all of her stuff. The person's not just going to take all of their possessions and just give it away. The only time we may say that a person would not want to give everything away to some stranger, maybe when it comes to giving to your daughter, actually it is a good deal, and therefore the daughter should be able to keep it. If you'll hachim and come barata, nafsha difla, doesn't matter. Even though, of course, you hopefully have a good relationship. I'm not sure if this woman did a good relationship with her daughter. As great of the relationship is, it cannot be compared to yourself. So a person's not even going to give everything away to their own child and leave themselves penniless. Meisvei hodaitzel shetavriach ni chaseha mibala. So Kate said he Isa, what should she do to basically hide her possessions so that the husband won't have any rights in it? So kosev shtar pasim, she should write this shtar pasim. Rashi says the shtar, which we saw before, piyusim shemafsiato lekabel matanazu lavkiz chus balo kodim nesuin v'lo sheyiska hamakabel zebahen. Not that the person that you're writing this for is actually going to be makabel it, but it's a shtar pasim in that the husband won't have rights. So you make a kosev shtar pasim l'cherem, you do it to others. If you want, the one who's makabel could actually laugh at this, because the fact that you gave it to me, now it's actually mine, even though your intention was really to get it back. Unless you also wrote on this document, shtar pasim, mihayoim, from today, v'kish ertzeh, and until basically as I will it. Namely, that once I write that, then I'm able to get it back from you. Now, taima de kosele hachi. It's only because you wrote that. Holo kosele hachi kenahi lekeach. This person acquires it. So this is actually a question on the opinion of Shmuel. Shmuel said that, how can you tell me that if it was not written this way, then that person will be able to keep it? No, we say that person doesn't keep it, because certainly that person's intention was only lahavriach, but not actually to really give it away. So according to Shmuel, he holds it's not necessary. So that's a question. So Amar Abzero Kasha Habakua Habniksasa, says Rashi. Ki Amar Shmuel lo kani b'kasevis lo kol nechaseha. When you give away everything, that's when he says that person is not really acquiring it. Kivan dule sharimidi lenafsha, since you're leaving nothing for yourself, obviously it means that imtis garish anan sahadi dule gamra machnia, that if this person is divorced, then there's no way that they actually wanted this to actually take place, and they'll be left with nothing. So when Shmuel said his din, that it goes back to this person regardless, they don't even have to write it, you don't even have to write mihayoim v'ki she'ertzeh, is when you give everything away. However, ha b'miksasa, if only you gave part of it away, so maybe a person would do such a thing. And therefore, unless you write this statement of mihayoim v'ki she'ertzeh, then actually it will be a good acquisition. Ve'ilo kan hiloikeach. So the question is, 1 second. If you're telling me that this person is not really kind to it, because this person really doesn't have any intention to really give it away, then niknu bal. So therefore, it really still belongs to the woman, which means, how is this really accomplishing anything? Because the husband should still have a right to it. So Amar Rabbi assume we make it kenechasim she'en yadun labal v'yilibed Rav Shimon. As we said in our Mishnah, when it comes to possessions she'en yaduim, that he doesn't know about, so if she sells it, it's a sale. Says Rashi Shari Almanah she'enan shalah nasla. That basically she married him on condition that it was like as it wasn't hers. The savar shehamatana gemura, that it had the appearance like it was a complete gift, and therefore because it's something in which he wasn't anticipating, it's considered to be, again according to Rav Shimon, under the category of nechasim she'en yaduin labal. So therefore, because that's when, as we saw in the Mishnah on Ayin Chesed Aleph, that Rav Shimon said toward the bottom, she'en yaduin labal lo timchar b'imachar b'nos hakayim, that actually it would be a sale. So therefore, he basically doesn't have intention to receive this. Question 7: Habal linase. Person is about to get married. So what should you do? So he says you should write your nechasim as a gift to someone else, and you should write also in the shtar, you should write again the words mihayoim v'kish she'ertzeh. So if you do that, then certainly it will work. And then the second half of the question is, Omer Shmuel im yavu shtar mevarachas liyade akareno. I'd rip it up. Kashim edesanya chacham omer mas masachik ba. How could you tell me that it's not a valid shtar and therefore that person has to get it back? We also hold mas masachik ba, which means that person can laugh and say, okay, I get to keep it. So he said the distinction over here is habakul hamiksasa, that in the event where the brisa is talking about you only gave some of the possessions away, then that's why it has to be written. If you don't write it that way, we're going to say it's actually a good start. However, when it comes to Shmuel, because you give away all nechasim, so a person is not going to just simply give away all their things like that. That's not something which is logical, and therefore because of that, the din is that it will not work, and therefore the star is ripped up. Next Mishnah, Nafula Ksafim. So instead of her acquiring land, here she acquires actual money. Now, what do we do in this situation? We know that when it comes to Nixim Elug, if she acquires land, she keeps the land and he eats the peros. So what happens with this money? So the Mishnah says, Yilakach mehen karku peros. You should take that money, and with that money you should purchase land, and she'll be the owner of the land, and he will be able to eat the peros. What if she's Yorish peros, fruits, which are talushim in a karka, detached? So again, Yilakach mehen karku, those fruits you should buy land, b'huach peros. How is peros hamechubarim b'karka? What if she inherits fruits that are attached to the ground? So Amra Meir Shamanaisa, we evaluate Kamihi Yafa Beperos or Kamihi Yafa below Peros. We see what's the difference between this land if there was fruit on it as opposed to land without fruit on it. Umaisar, and that difference, Gilakach Behen Karka, we buy land with that. Uloicha Peros, and he eats the fruits there. Says Rashi, Diksavar Mashigalda Bershusai, what was ever grown in his Rishus, Havi Peros. And therefore, the fact that this fruit grew, even though it's mechubel karka, that's considered to be like his. Havi Karen. Fine. So, fine. When it comes to that which is attached to the ground, shalo, it's his, says Rashi. Even the things that did not grow like while they were married. Torah's peros nosumahen, it still has the law of peros. Because since she retains the land, so therefore he has full rights to the peros. But tulushim nekarka shalah, that which is detached is hers. Again, she should buy land with that, and then he gets to eat the fruits. Rav Shimon Omer Makom. So then Rav Shimon concludes with the following statement: in the situation in which we say the koyach is strong when she gets married, hura koyach b'tziyasa, we find that the strength is weakened when they get divorced. So makom shahura koyach b'chnisasa, if you can find a place in which the koyach is weakened at the time of the marriage, yafa koyach b'tziyasa, so then it's going to be strong when at the divorce. So what does that mean? Weak at the beginning, strong, then weak at the beginning, strong at the end. Strong at the beginning, weak at the end. Ketzad, peros hamechubar makarka, when it comes to fruits that are attached to the ground, so b'chnisasa, if she brings that into the marriage, attached fruits, shalo. So he has rights to those fruits because, as we said, when it comes to nichsim melug, he eats the peros. However, b'tziyasa shalo. However, once she gets divorced, if these fruits are not ripened yet, so she gets to keep them. However, vatalushim in a karka, if they're detached from the ground, bechnisasa shalah, we said those are hers, and therefore she should take them and buy land with it, and he'll eat the fruits of that. But siyasa shalah, but when they get divorced, then it's his. Says Rashi, the masha kadam atalish ba'id tachtav zoich behen medin peres nechsim elok. So the Gemara says regarding, okay, you have money, so you want to buy a plant asset. So what is the best one to buy? Pshita, if you have ara bate ara. If you have two choices with this money, and you could either buy land or you could buy a house, ara, buy land. Bate v'dikle, let's say you could either buy a house or a date palm tree. Bate, better you should buy a house. Dikle v'ilane, let's say you have a date palm tree and also some fruit trees. Dikle. So in that situation, you should use this date palm tree first. Ilani ugufne. Let's say you have these other trees, these other fruit trees in comparison to grapevines. So ilane, so you should buy that. Abba zardita upera de kavre armula pera vi armula karna. So he says, Abba, look in Rashi, yar ulachtaich eitzim. So let's say you have this place in which you have a forest to chop down wood. Zarditza, Rashi says, ilana shel uzrudin, these trees, lo hayu pirian chashav lehen, they're not such chashav fruits, the kites until eitzim. Therefore, generally a person will take this and chop them down for firewood. Upira de kavre, Rashi says, chafira shel dogam, like a pond of fish, armula peri be'elmul karna. Some say this is Paris, that if, let's say, she received this as a Yerusha, the question is, would we allow this man to chop down the wood or not be able to chop it down? So one says it's Paris, therefore he has rights to it, and the other one says it's Karen, and he doesn't have a right to it. Klo de milsa gizo machlet pera. If, let's say, the tree regenerates itself, that if you chop down the fruits or take out the fruits, then more fruits are going to grow, then that's considered to be peros. In gizo machlet karna. If it's something in which it doesn't regenerate itself, that's not considered to be peros, and therefore it's considered to be Karen. Okay. Rav Zera, Rav Oishi, Rav Yanai, V'yarmula, Rav Abba, Rav Oishi, Rav Yanai, Hagoinev, as we continue Ayin Testament Bays, regarding one who steals, Vlad Behemus Malug, the Vlad of an animal which was from Nixi Malug, again brought into her possession, so Mishalim Tashlumi Kefal Isha. So the din is that you have to pay, just like whenever you steal, there's a chiyuv of not just paying back the Karen, the principal, but you also have to pay back kefil, double the amount. The question is, who do you pay back to? So it says you have to pay back to the woman, not to the husband. So in the Havamina, Rashi says, the Ksaver ein havladais peri el Karen, that these vladais of this behema is considered to be Karen. Therefore, if it was peros, then you would reimburse the husband kefil. To come on, look rabban v'look chananya, the sanya. Vlad behemas maloi global. It says over here, according to one opinion, that when it comes to the offspring of an animal, regarding Nixim Malug, it goes to the husband, which means, that means it's Peros. Vlad Shivchas Malug Leisha. However, he says when it comes to the child of a Shivcha, that does go to the woman, that's considered to be like Karen. Chananya ben Achi Yeshai Armer also Vlad Shivchas Malug Vlad Behemas Malug. He says there's no difference. That when it comes to the maidservant's child or an animal's offspring, so the din is the same, and that it goes labal. So therefore the question is, how could we say this statement above, and who is the statement like, that when it comes to Vlad Behemas Malug, that it goes L'isha? We see both opinions say, they argue about Shivchas Vlad Shivcha, but when it comes to Vlad Behema, it should go to the husband. Pera tekina le'rabanan, pera de pera tekina le'rabanan. What does that mean? So pera, says Rashi, gufa vlad, the actual child, the actual animal, so that the rabbanan were masakin is din by nixi melug, that it goes to the husband. However, pera de pera, which is kefel haba olav, this is something which comes from it, so that lo tekina rabbanan. The rabbanan were not masakin, and therefore it goes to her. So that's the distinction. That when it comes to, this is question 8, I think. Let's see. Vlad behemas nixi malug, but kefel haba mehaganevasa shel baal haim o shel isha. So we just said that when it comes to kefel, which is considered peri perois, so that it goes to the woman. However, when it comes to Vlad behema, so in that situation, the Vlad is shel baal. Okay. Now, Bishlam Chananya, I can understand according, so there's a machlokas over here, who we hold like Chananya, is it Chananya the Rabbanan? Now, Chananya says they're both the same. So his opinion is easy to understand, that it all goes to the husband. Bishlam Chananya, Hainu Dolei Chayshina Lamisa. The whole notion is, he's not Chayish Lamisa, he's not afraid that these animals are going to die. And therefore he just says it always goes to the husband, and we're not concerned that because these animals are alive, this person's alive, the animal's alive, therefore the Karen is going to be destroyed. El Rabbanan Ichai Shlamisa, if he actually does have this concern that these animals are going to die, so feel Vlad Behemas Lugnami Loy, then also when it comes to the Behema, the Vlad Behema, we should also say, according to the Rabbanan, that it should not go to the husband. Because if you're Chai Shlamisa, so the problem is that the Karen is going to be destroyed. So the question is, if they're Chai Shlamisa, I can then understand why, when it comes to Vlad Shivchais Malug, that we give it to the woman, because we're concerned that the Shivcha is going to die. So why don't we have that concern by an animal? Because when it comes to an animal, even if it dies, there's still the hides. So therefore, because there's hides, says Rashi, Ve'en HaKaren Kol Akulo. The Karen is not going to be completely destroyed. So there, because there's still the hides. And therefore, since the Karen is not going to be completely destroyed, so that's the reason why when it comes to Vlad Behema, that it goes to the husband. However, when it comes to Vlad Shivchas Malug, because obviously he can't do anything with its remains of this human being, so therefore because of that, the Karen can be Kali, can be completely destroyed. The halacha is like Chananya that says whether we're talking about Vlad Behema or we're talking about Vlad Shivcha, the din is that it goes to the husband. Even though he said that, still Moedech Hananya he'll agree. Shem is Garsha, that if they got divorced, no senes domim, she will give money, but no talton, and she will be able to take the children of the Shivcha. So in this situation, even though it's true that he's saying that the Baal has rights to it, but in this situation, that when they get divorced, the wife has the ability to be able to, because of Shvach Mesavia, because this connection to the Shivcha of her family that she has, so therefore she's able to basically get it, have the Shivcha for herself. Rav Nachman, Technisa lo eiz. A person brings into a relationship a goat, lachalva, for its milk, v'rachel legizasa, or a lamb for its shearings, v'tarnigos lebeitzasa, or a chicken or hen for its eggs, v'dekel leperoisav, or date palm tree for its fruits, oichel v'hoylech, you can continue eating at jetichla hakaren, until there's basically nothing left. That's something which is allowed. Amar Rav Nachman, le galima. If someone gives you this talis from Nixim Elug, Perahavi, Michasi Bav Ozel. So because it's Paris, you can wear it ad dekalia until it's completely ruined. Come on, ki haitan, and the sanya hamelech v'achoyel. When it comes to melech and choyel, says Rashi, nafal Yerusha al sfas yom. You have the edge of the water, and you have salt. Shemei hayam nechnasim behem v'chama miabashtan v'oisin melach. So the because of your geographic location, salt is plentiful. Harizeh peros. That's considered to be peros because, again, this is something in which it says Rashi v'lo amrinin yemacher oisel makam v'yilokach behem karka lefi she'in piriu kol oilam. Because of the way it is, the original status will never be lost because it's constantly being made, kind of like it's being regenerated continuously. So it has the din of peros. Pir shel gafris machpoires shel tzrif. When it comes to the pir gafris, Rashi says guma, this whole shechayfrin himenu gafris, in which they dig for sulfur. Also this other machpoires shel tzrif, chitzayvim behen begadim, they use it for dyeing garments. So Amir Omer Karen v'chacham Omer Paris. So there's a machlokas whether or not it's Karen. If it's Karen, then she has to sell it, and then with that money she buys land, and then because the fruits are gonna, in that situation, are going to be gone. Chacham say it's Paros. It's simply fruit. Rashi says umakam haguma yellow Karen, umizeh yoichel habal, so the husband is just allowed to eat directly from there, at shyichla, until it's completely gone. Now Shimon Omer Makam Shafa Kaichai. So as we saw at the Seif of the Mishnah, he said that if you're dealing with a case where it's Paris Mechubarim, if they have fruits which are attached to the ground, so when they get married, so it's his, and therefore he could eat the peros. However, upon divorce, it's hers. So in this, the Gemara says as follows: Shimon Omer Makam Shiyafa Kaichar. Shimon had a Tanakama. Some Rabba b'mechubarim b'shas yitzia ikbenayu. The difference is if it's attached b'shas yitzia at the time of divorce. It says Rashi, "Do iru b'hu rabbanan leisahu." He doesn't say anything about not getting it. Yomi Shimon b'siyasa shalah. Or Shimon says that when they get divorced, it's hers. The Ksavri mashi golda b'shuso shalo. He holds that whatever grew in the rishus is his. The tolish and detached b'shas yitzia leiko mermer the pligaleha. Okay, let's see the next Mishnah. So let's say, as we said, we have this concern of what happens if the Karen gets completely gone. So this is a legitimate concern if you have an Eved or a Shivcha who are older, which practically they may die soon. So Yamachru, because it's considered to be Karen, because of this possibility, so therefore she has to sell them. The Yokach ben Kark Vochel Peros. She'll end up buying land with it, and then he can eat Peros. Again, the idea is because we need to make sure that my Nechsnim Alug, it remains, and it's not something which will eventually disappear, and therefore he no longer will have any ability to eat Peros. Shemigmil Eimer Lo Timchor. In this case, he will not allow. He says it does. As Rashi says, Yechoil he la'akev. If she wants, she could protest and say, "I do not want these avodim shvachos to get sold." Why? Again, because if these avodim shvachos were connected to her family, so there's an emotional attachment there. Naful zeisim ugafanim zekanim. Let's say there was these olive branches from a tree or grapevines, but they're older, which means they're not going to last much longer. So it's the same din as avodim that you should sell these trees. When it comes to also these trees, they can have sentimental value, and therefore because of that, she doesn't have to sell them. We say the whole machlokas regarding these zaysim and gafanim is referring to her field. Says Rashi, "Shenafula hakarka im hayulanos," that she received land, and together on that land are these trees. Techiyavshi zaysim havli karka lekaren. That even though the trees may die, but she still has the land. So in that situation, it's a machlokas. All of a sudden, she'ena shalah. Let's say it's not hers, which means when those trees die out, she'll have nothing. Divri akol timchor. In that situation, you have to sell because there will literally be nothing left. Mishum de Kali Karna, as we said, if you have a case of Kali Karna, that the principal is going to be completely gone, so then we say that she has to sell it. What do you mean? They argue when it comes to slaves and maidservants when they die, so that's considered to be Kali Karna. You can't compare it to a tree which is on land, because when they die, it'll be Kali Karna. Nonetheless, they still argue. The whole machlokes, whether you sell it or don't have to, or you're not, we compel you to sell it, or she can say, I don't want it sold, is a situation where it's Sadashen Shalom, which means all you have are these trees, and she doesn't have the land. And it's Kali Karna that's going to be gone. But maybe we don't have to sell it because she can say it's Shlach Besaviyah. If let's say she has her own field, if we have land, so there's certainly al shrach be'saviyah, she can say, I'm not going to sell these trees because luyatsur, it's Kali Karna of the trees, but he can still eat the peros from the actual karka. Okay, we're going to stop here. Let's see maybe another question here. Question 8 we saw, so let's move on to TA 3. Madua Vlad Shivchas malug leisha. How come when it comes to a shivcha, according to the Rabbanan, vlad behemus malug global? Why do we say that they both go to the husband? Umadua kefel shel vlad behemus malug leisha. So he said, according to them, turn to the Rabbanan, it's because they are chayesh l'misa, and if you're chayesh l'misa, therefore you're going to have kal yakarna. And however, when it comes to a behema, it's not completely kal yakarna because the behema, it has its ora, it has its hides. In kefel, we say it goes to her because of peri-peros, that because kefel is not peros, but it's peri-peros, so the din is that she will be able to receive that. That was TA3. Fine. So it has to do with, again, peri tekina l'Rabbanan, peri to peri tekina l'Rabbanan, and again the other distinction is that it has the hides. Let's see, the ika ora, because it has its hides. Adkan.